Isn't it just the most wonderful time of year? You know, you could just feel it. It's that Christmas spirit, right? And there's something about it. There's something that fills everyone up, that what comes out of them is just wonderful. I mean, at this time of year, I think it's safe to say that everyone's just a little bit more happy. I think it's safe to say that people are just more at peace. You're walking down the street and people are opening doors and smiling at each other. There's kindness in the air. There's just joy. I was walking down the streets in Georgetown with my family the other night, and two guys were coming out of the bar and they were singing "Joy to the World," and I was joining along with them. It was just happy. And beyond that, there's comfort. Like, just nothing better than turning on the Christmas lights at night, pouring yourself a nice big hot chocolate, Christmas music playing in the background, writing out Christmas cards. It's just, isn't it? It's just the most wonderful time of year. And it's really that Christmas spirit that does that. You know who's the king of Christmas spirit? Buddy the Elf. I don't know if you have seen the movie Elf, but it's about this guy, Buddy, who gets adopted as an elf, and he's a human being. He grows up. It's a great movie. If you haven't seen it, you should watch it. But Buddy, I would say there's no one else in the world who is full of more Christmas spirit than Buddy the Elf. Happiness, peace, joy, comfort, he lives for that. I mean, just look at him. In fact, it was the wise philosopher Buddy the Elf who once said, the best way to spread Christmas cheer is...
singing loud for all to hear.
Got it! Yeah! Singing loud for all to hear, right? Buddy the Elf, he is all about the Christmas spirit. And you know what? That's my goal for you all today. I want you to just be filled with Christmas spirit even better than Buddy the Elf. And we're going to do that by looking at the book of Zephaniah, which is kind of interesting because Zephaniah, if you read about him, he seems kind of like the anti-Buddy the Elf. Zephaniah had a theme, right? He's a prophet, and he came in and he was prophesying to the people, and he kept talking about the day of the Lord, the day of the Lord, the day of the Lord. He's all about the day of the Lord, letting people know what the day of the Lord would be like. So I don't have it up on the screen, but here's a description of what the day of the Lord from Zephaniah chapter 1, verses 14. This is not in your bulletin. This is extra. The great day of the Lord is near and coming quickly. Listen, cry on the day of the cry on the day of the Lord will be bitter. The shouting of the warrior there. That day will be a day of wrath, a day of distress and anguish, a day of trouble and ruin, a day of darkness and gloom, a day of clouds and blackness, the day of trumpet and battle cry against the fortified cities and against the corner towers. I will bring distress on the people, and they will walk like blind men because they have sinned against the Lord. Their blood will be poured out like the dust, and their entrails like filth. Neither their silver or their gold will be able to save them on the day of the Lord's wrath. In the fire of his jealousy, the whole world will be consumed, for he will make a sudden end of all who live on earth. Merry Christmas. I mean, right, like Christmas joy, right? Zephaniah, the king of Christmas joy? No, not really. No, he's talking about the day of the Lord. He's saying this day is coming. This day when God's patience will run out. And God, who is a just and holy, perfect God, hates sin. He hates it. And so on this day of the Lord, when God's finished, he's done, what's he going to do? He is going to remove sin. He's going to remove the sin of the world, and he's going to punish the people whose sins have caused offense to God. You go, man, that sounds rough for all those other people out there. Thank goodness we're here in church and we love Jesus, right? But it's interesting because then in chapter 2 it talks about the wrath that's coming on all the enemies of God's people, right? The Ammonites and the Assyrians and the Philistines. But then at the end of that section, you're like, yeah, go get them, God, day of the Lord. He talks about the wrath that will be poured out on his people, God's people, who are full of sin. This is a terrifying thought, because as we're sitting here, we recognize our own sin. And God says in chapter 3, verse 8, here in Zephaniah, chapter 3, verse 8, therefore wait for me, declares the Lord. For that day I will stand up to testify. I have decided to assemble the nations, to gather the kingdoms, and to pour out my wrath on them in all my fierce anger. Understand who's going to be on trial. All nations. Which includes me. And who's the one that's going to be testifying against me? Not the devil. No, it said the Lord will be the one to testify. The Lord who sees all things. The Lord who knows all things. There is nothing hidden from him. And so you will be fully exposed on the day of the Lord as you're standing with all nations, and your sin will be revealed, and the Lord will burn away the sin. Merry Christmas, right? That's what Zephaniah is all about. It seems like an anti-buddy to me. Anti-Christmas spirit. But then, for our reading for today, chapter 3, verse 8 was what I just read, but our reading for today is from chapter 3, verse 14. Right? Not soon after, what does Zephaniah say? Sing, daughter Zion. Shout aloud, Israel. Be glad and rejoice with all your heart, daughter Jerusalem. What? The day of the Lord is coming, wrath, all will stand, their sins will be exposed, the Lord's wrath will come and burn away the sin. But hey, you rejoice, shout, sing, be glad. You know what that sounds like to me? That sounds like grandma at like the family Christmas celebration, just like, everybody be happy! Meanwhile, mom and dad are getting a divorce. Brother is about to go on trial for being arrested in possession of methamphetamines with intent to sell. Sister just got expelled from her senior year in high school. Uncle Joe just lost his job. Grandpa's drunk, so Grandma pops another Xanax and just says, everyone be happy! Right? Fake it! We're going to like each other. The day of the Lord is coming, wrath, but you rejoice, be happy, be glad. Is it fake Christmas joy that Zephaniah is trying to push on you? No. No, in fact, it's the most real, authentic, genuine rejoicing that we could ever do, because of what it says next. Verse 15. The Lord has taken away your punishment. He has turned back your enemy. The Lord, the King of Israel, is with you. Never again will you fear any harm. I love that. I mean, that first phrase, the Lord has taken away your punishment, the idea there is the Lord has turned it. The Lord has taken it off its course. I think of a hurricane. Right? I don't know if you've been in the path of a hurricane, but it's pretty intimidating. Like, early on, it's like, oh, it could go any which direction. But when it gets close, and it's like, nope, here it comes, straight at Houston. Houston's going to get the brunt of it. I mean, there's no stopping a hurricane on its path. Just like there was no stopping your judgment that was coming for you, that impending doom because of your sin, that the Lord was going to punish. And yet here it says the Lord has taken this impending doom that was coming towards you, and he's turned it away. You know, the hurricane does a 180. Goes out into the ocean and disperses. Yeah, the punishment, the judgment that was coming for you, there's no hope of escaping from it. God did something incredible. He turned it away. The Lord has turned back your enemy. Oh, that's fun. The Lord has turned back your enemy, right? The Lord, the mighty warrior, the one who is fighting for you. What is it called when your enemy turns back? retreat. The Lord has caused the enemy to go into a full retreat away from you, right? And who's our enemy? It's the devil. That's the devil. And he, like, let's make this very clear. The devil hates you. He's not like your buddy who's trying to get you into fun trouble because mom and dad said you couldn't. Like, no, the devil hates you. The devil wants you to suffer the doom and gloom of the Lord's wrath and judgment. That's what he wants. And so he comes before God and says, look at all of their sin. They're sinners. I tempted them. They fell into sin. You, God, are righteous and just. You have to punish them. But the Lord has made your enemy go in full retreat, running, because the devil has nothing against you. Right? There's no accusation that he can bring against you that'll stick. Well, how do we know? That's Christmas, right? And so what the devil has nothing against you now going into the day of the Lord. And so the only thing that he tries to do is tell you that the Lord's not with you. But what does Zephaniah says? No, the Lord, the King of Israel, is with you. Therefore, never again will you fear any harm, evil, bad, all of those wrapped up into you have nothing to fear. You have absolutely nothing to fear because the Lord is with you. You know what that makes you do? Rejoice. Isn't it interesting in verse 14, just kind of going back a little bit, that there's feminine words there described for the people and their rejoicing? Rejoice, daughter Zion. Shout aloud, Israel. Be glad and rejoice with all your heart, daughter Jerusalem. Why is that? Well, back then in the cities, if there was an enemy that was coming against the city, who would go out and fight? The men, the soldiers. They would go out and fight. And who would stay behind? The women, the children, the daughters. And so the men would go out and fight, and if they were victorious and they stopped the impending doom and gloom coming around the city, they would come back into the city, and there would be a parade, and what would the women do? Sing and rejoice. Because though they did not fight the battle, theirs is the victory. I love it that that's what God is telling us to do. He's saying, hey, sing and rejoice because I have won the battle for you. The judgment has been turned away. The enemy is in full retreat. The victory is yours and I am with you. There's nothing that can harm you. And so the city rejoices. Except for two ladies. It's interesting. There were two ladies who didn't rejoice in that city. There was one lady who stayed in her house, and she kept crying. And so her neighbors came and said, hey, did you not hear the army? They won the battle. Victory is ours. And she's sitting there sobbing and goes, no, I know that the victory is mine, but I'm still worried about my children and my family. And they go, what do you mean? The victory is theirs too. They live in the city too. Like they have the exact same victory. Why are you still crying? They have that victory too. Right? It'd be silly for her to continue to be crying for her children who live in her house if the victory is theirs also. The other lady who was not singing and rejoicing, she was still in her house doing the dishes. And the neighbors came by and said, hey, what are you doing? Come on, come sing and rejoice with us. Celebrate the victory that is ours. She goes, what victory? Did you not know that the soldiers went out? No, they went out. Yeah, they did. Didn't you know about the danger and the enemy that was coming against us, the judgment that was coming against us? Oh, no, I'm way too busy with doing dishes. Yeah, what? I didn't even know that there was an enemy coming. I think the reason why people struggle to rejoice is because they don't fully understand the gospel and the good news and the victory. Right? Like, doom and gloom and judgment was coming for all people and all nations, but the Lord has turned that judgment away from you. The devil is running in full retreat away from you. The Lord is with you. Therefore, you have nothing to fear. This is what the gospel is. This is what Jesus is all about. This is why Jesus came on Christmas. And this is a truth, a reality of Christmas. And when you understand that, when you see that, you go, wow, I can't believe it. You can't help but be filled up and rejoice. And that's why it says again in verse 16, on that day, they will say to Jerusalem, don't fear. Zion, the Lord is with you. Do not let your hands hang limp. Don't just be like, give up. Victory, celebrate, continue to fight against the devil. The victory is yours. Be filled with that gospel Christmas cheer. I mean, really, I want you to have that same kind of Christmas spirit like Buddy the Elf. Actually, no, I don't. I want you to be filled with Christmas spirit and Christmas cheer even better than Buddy the Elf. Isn't it interesting that Christmas spirit only lasts a month? I don't think anyone would deny that Christmas spirit is a good thing. And the things that lead out of it are good. I mean, people being generous, that's a really good thing. People being kind, that's a very good thing. People being at peace, peace to the world, right? Those are all very good things. And those are the things that flow out of Christmas spirit. But then why does it only last a month? I think it's because Christmas spirit is like a car. In order for it to work, you have to fill it up. Christmas spirit is like a car. In order for it to work, you have to fill it up. So what are the things that fill you with Christmas spirit, right? It's the lights. It's the songs. It's the family, right? All the decorations that go up, the Christmas movies, all of the traditions, all of those things that you love about Christmas fill you up with the spirit, and the good things flow out of that, right? It's like a car. That's what Buddy the Elf's all about. But how come it only lasts a month? Because a Christmas song that's played 12 months out of the year is not a great song anymore. And Christmas lights that are up all year long are called lights. And being with your family for 365, 24/7, oof. And all these things that we get excited about at Christmas, that give us Christmas spirit, they're shallow. They don't last. And that's why Christmas spirit only lasts a month. But Zephaniah here, he's telling us to rejoice, 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 rejoice. Non-stop, at all times. Be filled with that spirit, that Christmas spirit, all year long. But instead of being filled by things that are shallow and really, at the end, not lasting, be filled with something better. Be filled by God's Christmas cheer. Verse 17, right? This is just repeating what we've already heard. The Lord your God is with you. The mighty warrior he saves. Okay, we've already talked about it. But now, God's spirit here. God's attitude towards you. It's incredible. He will take great delight in you. His love, he will no longer rebuke you, but will rejoice over you with singing. This is a window into God's Christmas spirit all the time. He delights in you. Think about that. Like the grass and the flowers, you know how they delight in rain? That's the way the Lord delights in you. You fill him up. The way that, like, when a groom is standing there at a wedding and he sees the doors open and he sees his bride for the first time and there's just full of delight, that's the way the Lord feels about you, right? It's not forced cheer. It's not something that he has to create from within himself. He just is overjoyed and delights in you. You say, how can you say that? How can you say that? Because, like, I have nothing good to offer to God. And it's not what's inside of you that makes him delight in you. It's what he did for you that makes him delight in you. He turned judgment away. He made the devil go running in retreat. And he did that all at Christmas. He sent his son, who then went to the cross. And all that is what God's work was. That was God's plan, and he did it all for you. And so now when he looks at you, he's like, oh man, did you see what I did for you? God delights in you. What about the next? His love will no longer rebuke you. This was one that I struggled with a little bit. Because if you would look at different Bibles, this is NIV 2011 translation, I believe. If you look at other translations, they all say something a little bit different. In his love, he will no longer rebuke you. In his love, he will cause you to be silent. In his love, he silences you. In his love, he quiets you, right? Like, they all kind of say a different thing. So I was like, I was having a hard time really grasping what this meant. What do you mean God causes me to be silent? And then it hit me the other night. We're not going to name names. But it turns out that sometimes toddlers throw temper tantrums. And it is chaos. Screaming at top of the lungs, saying things like, I hate you, I can't believe, why are you doing this to me? And it was bedtime, that's all we were doing, bedtime. But just like the word, why are you letting this happen to me? And then the most amazing thing happened. Amanda picked him up, held him close to her chest, and just went, away in the manger. Shh. The Lord silences you. The Lord will no longer rebuke you. The Lord is with you. And boy, I know you. And I know the struggles that you have when you're going, why are you doing this to me, God? Why aren't you here for me? Just spewing tantrums against God. And he goes, shh. The Lord is with you. He silences you. That's his spirit towards you. And then the last one. But will rejoice over you with singing. God sings Christmas music. But his Christmas music sounds like this. Go tell it on the mountain, over the hills and everywhere. Go tell it on the mountain that I saved you. Hark the herald angels sing, glory to the newborn King, peace on earth and mercy mild, you and I are reconciled. Right? Like, God is filled with joy in everything that he has done for you, and you see it at Christmas. You see it at the cross. He has taken the judgment and turned away. He has made the devil running for his life, and that fills God up with joy, and he sings over you. And so here is my Christmas wish, my Christmas blessing, and then I'll say amen. May you be filled with true Christmas spirit that doesn't last a month, but lasts a lifetime. Not from the shallow things of the world, but may you be filled by singing. May you be filled by God's Christmas song for you. Amen.